Pero isang requirement kasi ng SEC para maipasok yung isang real estate asset sa isang REIT is dapat Hi guys, let's talk about the upcoming Robinsons REIT. I will be referencing the most recent disclosure from July 29, 2021. So magiging interesting talaga yung discussion ngayon because there are new details. But if you are here just to know about my final thoughts about this REIT, then you can skip to the timestamp over here and you can skip the rest of the discussion. But before anything else, reminder and disclaimer lang po not to always practice your due diligence when it comes to investing. I am just here to provide you with the information and siguro konting commentary kung ano ba yung opinions ko. Pero these videos are never meant to encourage you in any way. I will not force you to buy, sell, avoid, or even hold a stock or any investment vehicle. Okay, so unahin na natin yung basic details. This REIT will be listed as RL Commercial REIT or ticker symbol RCR. So the sponsor of this REIT is of course si RLC or si Robinsons Land Corporation. And also similar to our discussion before about how Cyberzone Properties Incorporated changed their name to Philinvest REIT Corporation in preparation for a REIT. Nagpalit din ng name itong si RCR. So yung original name is Robinsons Realty and Management Corporation and they changed their name to RL Commercial REIT. The offer period will be from August 31 to September 8 and the tentative listing date is set at September 15, 2021. And as we know from our previous discussions, mayroong dalawang ways para kumita sa mga REITs. First is through dividends because as mandated by the government, REITs are required to pay out at least 90% of their rental income to the investors. And the second way that we can earn from REITs is of course capital appreciation because treated as a common stock or a common share pa rin naman ang isang REIT in the stock market. Isang difference nitong REIT sa isang common share in the stock market is that hindi siya ganun ka-volatile during the day. So what that means is super uncommon makakita ng plus 10%, plus 20% or the other way around, negative 10% or negative 20% within the day. And for that reason, kaya natin kino-consider na medium-term to long-term investment vehicles ang mga REITs. It takes a certain skill set to day trade a stock, let alone to day trade a REIT in the stock market. Pero kung masokista ka and gusto mo ng challenge, then go ahead kasi pera mo yan. There will be a total of 3.34 billion shares offered to the public with an over-allotment option of up to 305.1 million common shares. The offer price is not yet final but it would be up to 7.31 pesos per share. Kung maset nga at 7.31 pesos per share, then that means this IPO will be worth 26.7 billion pesos or 557.9 million US dollars. The total GLA or the gross leasable area or yung floor area na pwede nilang iparent out to their tenants is exactly 425,315 square meters as of July 29, 2021. This REIT will include 14 PEZA accredited buildings distributed across different CBDs in Metro Manila, Naga, Cebu, and Davao. 13 out of these 14 properties were transferred from RLC to RCR through a property for share swap, kagaya yung ginawa ni Ayala Land or ni Ali when they infused more properties into a REIT. So yung isa pang kagandahan ng mga REITs is kung interested kang pumasok sa property market pero wala ka pang pera to buy maybe an apartment, a condo, or any property para sa recurring monthly income, then okay, pumasok sa REITs kasi as low as 5,000 pesos, pwede ka na mag-open ng stockbroker account and you can use that 5,000 pesos kasi consumable naman yan to buy your first REIT. And usually, yung lease contracts ay at least 5 years. So, binded sila for 5 years. Binded or bounded? So, hindi tayo dapat ma-concern kung mawawalan sila ng tenants. And speaking of tenants, we will discuss more of the tenant profiles later on. Also, according to the disclosure, 70% down ng mga expiring GLA in 2021 ay nakapag-renew na, and the remaining expiring leases are in the process of discussing the renewal terms. The 14 properties included in this REIT are Robinsons Equitable Tower, Robinsons Summit Center, Cyberscape Alpha, Cyberscape Beta, Terra Tower, Cyber Sigma, Exazeta Tower, Robinsons Cybergate Center 2, Robinsons Cybergate Center 3, Robinsons Cybergate Cebu, Galleria Cebu, Luisita BTS 1, Cybergate Naga, and Cybergate Delta 1. If symptoms persist, consult your doctor. As usual with any standard REIT, these buildings are a combination of commercial, retail, traditional spaces, but mostly commercial spaces. Kung napansin nyo, I was talking about the standard REIT and I want to highlight this kasi merong upcoming special kind of REIT na hindi nga standard. I am of course talking about the upcoming joint industrial REIT between Jollibee and Double Dragon, and masyado pang maaga to talk about this, but once we get more details, I will do a separate video about this. So kung ayaw nyo ma-miss yun, please consider subscribing if you haven't already. The proceeds from this IPO will be used for investment plans verbatim by the sponsor, which is Robinsons Land. So in other words, the REIT entity itself or CRCR will not receive any portion of the proceeds from this IPO. Pag-usapan natin yung reinvestment plans. Typically, what that means can be two things. The first one is to fund other projects of the sponsor or the mother company of this REIT, which is Robinsons Land Corporation. And the second way is to fund the construction of other real estate properties para maipasok nila dito sa REIT and effectively increasing the GLA and the total asset portfolio of RCR. And recently lang, I attended a seminar by my broker for PhilInvest and PhilRT, and they said that they are planning to do the same with the IPO proceeds. According dun sa representatives from PhilRT or PhilIrt, they are planning to infuse more buildings just 6 to 12 months daw after the IPO. If I remember correctly, yung isang point ng discussion, nakatayo naman na yung mga buildings and fully functional na sila, if not all of the buildings. Pero isang requirement kasi ng SEC para maipasok yung isang real estate asset sa isang REIT is dapat at least 3 years na siyang nagpo-produce ng rental income. So in this case, hindi pa umabot sa 3 years kaya hindi pa siya ipinasok doon sa PhilRT. Okay, so medyo nag-digress na ako from the topic today. Pero basically, yung second scenario is good news for us because it can be seen as an inflation hedge kasi as the REIT portfolio grows in terms of the GLA, that means more rental income, and more rental income means more dividends and potentially higher stock price. The portfolio has close to 200 tenants and they split them into 6 categories. First is IT BPM or BPO in short, 68.3% of the total GLA. Traditional space, 19.2%, seat leasing 5.8%, POGO tenants at 2.8%, hotel tenants at 1.5%, and retail and others at 1.6%. I acknowledge the significance of the BPO sector and alam ko na they are strong drivers of our economy. So knowing that almost 69% is being leased by IT BPM companies is good news to me and is a win in my book. Also, if you look closely, under 3% lang din yung exposure nila sa POGO tenants, just like our discussion with PhilRT. So combining these two information, if you are not a fan of the POGO companies and you support the thriving BPO companies in the Philippines, then the Robinsons REIT should be an attractive investment for you, well, at least coming from the perspective of the tenant profiles. And speaking of the tenants, gusto lang i-point out na 9 out of their top 10 tenants are in the IT BPM sector. Isa lang yung galing sa traditional space. Okay, so yung occupancy rate information ang hinihintay ko noon before making this video. Kasi ayoko mag-form ng decision only around the offer price. So para sa akin kasi, I put more value in whether they are income generating already or hindi pa. And fortunately for Robinsons REIT, maganda yung numbers na nakita natin. For the Metro Manila assets, 4 out of 9 buildings have 100% occupancy rate, which sounds bad at first, pero pag chinek natin yung remaining 5 assets, panay 98% at 99% naman sila. And then when we move on naman to the assets outside Metro Manila, all of the buildings have 100% occupancy rate. So combining all the assets from Metro Manila and all the assets outside NCR, tumataginting na 99% yung average occupancy rate ng 14 buildings na to, which is really, really good.
Really good?
Real estate investment trusts provide us with an opportunity for diversification. Walang problema mag-double sa hottest assets like crypto and NFTs, especially if you know what you're doing. Pero if you still prioritize peace of mind and gusto mo lang protektahan yung meron ka na, then REITs should be an attractive investment for you. And sure, hindi ganun kataas ang potential return ng REITs compared to crypto or individual stock trading. But since this asset class sits between stocks and fixed income assets, mas mataas pa rin ang potential return ng REITs compared to bonds and even bond funds na naglalaro lang between 1 to 3% per annum. As part of my final thoughts in this REIT, I will be pulling the list of strengths from the disclosure, pero just note na medyo biased to syempre kasi sila yung nagsulat nito. Yung first one is strong sponsorship from a leading real estate developer, which is RLC, and I have nothing to comment about this because strong is subjective. Second one, resilient daw yung BPO industry in the Philippines, which I agree with. So leading testament naman dito yung mga BPO companies natin na kahit nasa gitna ng pandemic, hindi masyado naapektuhan yung mga BPO companies. Syempre, they still needed to adapt pero wala naman tayong nabalitaan na major exit or major closure ng mga BPO companies sa news. Compare this to the DMPR na malaking portion ng tenants nila ay from the POGO sector. Kaya naman nung nag-exit na or nag-POGO exodus, naging negative yung sentiment ng mga investors kaya bumaba yung price ng DDMPR. The third strength is PEZA accredited Grade A commercial assets. I will not talk about the PEZA details, pero basically it is the leading metric on how we should gauge the investment quality of a real estate property. So PEZA accreditation means Number 4, strength. Stable income from long leases and high-quality tenants. So to summarize the discussion earlier, almost 69% of the total GLA is occupied by IT BPM companies and the lease contracts are at least 5 years. The fifth strength is organic growth through rental escalations. If hindi ka pa familiar dito, this is a normal stipulation in the contracts when you are renting out spaces. So what this means is tinataasan nila yung renta for their tenants year after year, which is good news for investors like us kasi this means tataas din yung consolidated or yung total rental income for the year. So malaki yung chance na tataas din yung dividends natin. REITs can also be considered an inflation hedge kasi nga tumataas yung annual rent and sumasabay siya sa inflation. Ang typical ramp up ng rental rate nila is about 3 to 5% every year. And the final strength according to the disclosure is the strong track record of the management and the board of directors, which I have nothing more to add to because that's very subjective and syempre ilalagay nila yan. So yun, let's just leave it at that, guys. So if you like this type of content, please consider subscribing because I release a video every Sunday about personal finance, trading and investing. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye!